for making time for this discussion. Why don't we start with Gaurav and hear a little bit more about Theos before we deep dive into customer feedback.
Very good afternoon, everyone. So, my name is Chef Gaurav Wadhwa. I'm the founder, director, culinary head, and co owner of Theo's Food Private Limited. We've predominantly a chain of patisserie across Delhi NCR, but we also have full fledged restaurants. We had a bar which we've just converted into a mocktail bar recently, and we have bistros as well. So we have presence across Delhi NCR. Right now we are about 10 outlets, but we're going to be about 18 outlets by the end of this year. We are under massive expansion right now, and yeah, I think the market's really growing. So we're going to go more into that once we have all the panelists who have introduced themselves.
Hey, I'm Sumesh, and I run a coffee brand. We started as a D2C first operation. In fact, started as OEMs for some of India's largest coffee companies. It grew into what was an in-home consumption market, and the idea was always to make coffee stupidly simple to consume back at home. The mission kept evolving, but the one thing that we remained consistent for us was that we wanted to cater to this very large Indian market that wanted great coffee at with convenience, and convenience was convenience of price points, convenience of delivery, convenience of everything. So I think our distribution channels, the way we've grown, have expanded. Currently, mainly services over 2,000 plus touch points offline, and we have 7 brand owned stores which are operational. Hopefully we'll grow into something larger by the end of this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Akshi Khandelwal. I'm the founder and CEO of Butterfly Ayurveda and Cafe Swasthya. So Butterfly Ayurveda is a 10-year-old company which specializes in research and development and manufacturing of herbal teas, Ayurveda-inspired bakery items, as well as Ayurvedic medicines. So we've got a manufacturing tea unit based out of Manesar, which was GMP certified. And we have our bakery unit, FSSAI licensed bakery unit, operating out of Chhatarpur. So over the past 10 years, our formative years really went into new product development. So we have a very vast and a very diverse product portfolio. And we wanted to bring all of these offerings under one roof and give a very original Ayurvedic experience to our customers. And that's why we launched Cafe Swasth this year in 2025 January, which was located at Sector 49, Gurugram. So it's one of its kind. And I think we'll talk more about both the brands as we move forward. Yeah, thank you.
So good to learn about all your brands, and I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of customers on a daily basis. Since our topic today is the importance of customer feedback, why don't we start with one feedback that probably changed the course of your business, led to an innovation, led to a heartbreak or an early offset? Maybe we can start with Akshi.
I think one of the biggest changes that we did to our working was taking the feedback from one of our very important customers who was a regular tea drinker. And he said, we used to supply tea bags in nylon packaging, pyramid shaped nylon packaging. And he just very casually mentioned it to one of my sales representative that, being an Ayurvedic brand, you serve nylon tea bags. And we knew that there were whispers in the market, and this I'm talking like 8 years back or something, not right now when biodegradable tea bags are the trend. I'm talking about 8 years back when one of our customers, he just said that, why are you giving us nylon tea bags? So that really made us change our complete, supply chain and sourcing of our packaging material. We quickly decided that we are going to do biodegradable tea bags, and we made that switch as soon as it was possible to all of our tea range. And we have over 10 or 12 variants of teas. We had over 10 or 12 variants of teas at that point in time. So to bring about that change was a huge challenge, but we did it, and we definitely did not look back post that. So we are very grateful for that feedback, and we saw that the brands took to biodegradable much later. Yeah,
That's really interesting, Akshi. What was the same or a moment that is parallel to this for Beanly?
At Beanly, I think there've been multiple instances where customer feedback is something that we guys have used to change our products, work on our products, and it's been luckily for us. I think our journey has involved us manufacturing for other brands, and then also for our direct consumers. And I can draw parallels in each case. So, for example, we were working for a specialty coffee roaster, and I think by far the largest in the country today. They were manufacturing drip bags with us. This was back in 2019, and our outer envelope had a laminate structure. So, like she mentioned, there was people picked up on nylon. They picked up on the outer laminate structure for us, and they told us that, listen, the inner drip bag's fully biodegradable. What's up with the outer laminate structure? And that was something we really worked very hard on. We eventually developed a single layer laminate, which ensured that nitro flushing could still happen, ensured that we could still pack in zero oxygen, ensured the outer packaging would still degrade in a regular environment, because India doesn't have delamination processes. So that was something that we worked on. If you're looking more instances, I think with customers, I think we there's a lot of data that we guys keep fetching, and it's purely never data. There's sometimes that these customers, when they give you feedback, it's actually very synchronous. Like some of them coming back and telling us that, listen, cold coffee has too much sugar, needs lesser sugar. Recipes at scale have been reworked, and I'm talking about at large scale have been reworked. And I think it's very important for you to realize who you're building for. The minute you start missing the boat on that,
Do you think customers today are extra brutal and more demanding than they probably were a few years back, or how have they changed over the years?
If that question's for me, I have six and a half years of experience in the business. So over the last 6.5 years, they've been equally demanding. But I'm sure that someone who's worked for 20-30 years would say otherwise.
What do you think, Chef Gaurav?
So, answering your first question, that so at Theo's, see, right from the beginning, we've been a brand. We believe in preemptiveness. We believe in kind of as a brand being responsible. Now, generally, what happens is brands become responsible only after they become a brand.
Yeah.
But you need to start behaving like a brand from day one. So with brand, it comes there's this unsaid responsibility which comes, which is about estimating, or probably at a preemptive level, expecting what your customers would expect out of you, anticipating that. So there's a lot of focus on that. So one is that, so we try to cover up a lot of customer expectation under the anticipation phase only. Now, despite of doing everything, obviously you will always come across something that you've not anticipated for or factored in. So those kind of inputs, when they come, they are kind of taken in, and then we do a research around it, and then we try to figure it out whether it's largely good for every customer, or is it good for only this particular customer. Basis that, a decision is taken and an execution plan is made. To give you an example of one big change which happened with us was that as a brand, we were not doing home delivery till 2019, and we are a brand which started in 2007. So from 2007 to 2019, we were very against home delivery. I was very against home delivery, and we were not doing any home deliveries, because I always felt that in a home delivery, we can never do justice to a birthday cake or a pastry or, like a savory or a bakery article or a beverage, because I always thought that it will never be the same when it will reach home. So there was this big negotiation which happened between me and Swiggy, Zomato and all, and they were trying to convince me for a very long time that you must do deliveries, and I was like, no, I don't want to deliver, because I know one thing for sure, that they will never have the same experience. So, but from there I took the clue, and there was a lot of customer demand which was coming. And then just prior to COVID, obviously we didn't know that COVID's gonna hit everyone, so but just prior to COVID we started working on what if we take the ownership of developing packaging which is sustainable in the form of delivering the right product. And you won't believe that we went on to the extent of having like a stick on thing on the base of our cake boxes, which can make sure that your cake does not move. Then we have pastry boxes which are in a triangular form, which do not let your pastry fall. Then from packaging to, so much of effort went into developing a packaging range, which obviously later on became the norm for everybody. But yes, so until and unless we were very satisfied with the delivery packaging and we were very sure of what product customers would get is exactly what they will have at the store level, we didn't divulge into it. So that one customer feedback really opened up, and today we are about 35% of our sales come from home delivery. So we would have lost a big chunk of money. So thanks to everyone who demanded us to start delivering, and that worked for us. Yeah.
That's great. So, you have been in the business longer than the other speakers here. So, how have you seen customers and their feedback changing over time?
So at Theos, we take a lot of customer feedback. So our feedback system is also not very systematically, methodologically designed, wherein you get a feedback card and you can only fill up what you want, what we want you to fill up. We generally give you a plain slate of plate, and you need to write on it. Some people draw, some give ratings, some kids they make Theo's logo. People do all sorts of things on those plates, and every plate goes through me. So at the end of the day, I go through every single plate. It is shared with me from all the outlets in a picture format, and we sense what is it that the customers are trying to tell us. Some of them compare us, some of them talk about a dish or whatever it is. But over a period of time, what I've realized is that at least with us, a lot of customers, they want an avenue to reach out to us and tell us how they felt, which earlier was something which was not very important to a lot of people. And I know that even today there are a lot of people who just visit restaurants and all and have a great meal but don't express it. Only expression would be if they've not had a good meal. But fortunately with us, we have customers who express both. So that pretty much tells us what is it that we are doing right also, because you can't be doing everything wrong and still be doing well, right? And yes, once in a while we do get feedbacks with respect to if something's not gone right, and we have investigation systems. So I am as it is as a person, I'm a very calm person. I don't really kind of jump onto conclusion very instantly. So if a customer has mentioned that your manager was rude, it's not that I will suddenly blast at him or I'll probably fire him. There will be a proper investigation. We'll understand what the situation was, what happened, and why did he, behave the way he behaved. And eventually a decision is taken basis, all the factors in mind. So customer feedback has genuinely become very precise. I mean, I would say that they're pretty much precise these days. Yeah.
That's great. So, Samyesh, what do you think is the importance of ratings, say Google reviews or the ratings that come on Zomato, Swiggy? Do you think they hold a great relevance for the customers that are looking to order from your brand? And what if there is a bad rating? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I think similarly with us also, whether it's a website rating, whether it's a support inquiry, whether it's something that's come on Zomato, if it's below a certain threshold, it passes by me for sure. So invariably, if you've ever rated Beanly poorly, irrespective of where you rated it, you'd probably get a call back from me or my co-founder. So I think we've taken that sort of feedback very, very seriously. And like Chef mentioned, there is, I think we've also noticed that customers only rate you when they've either loved you a lot or they've hated it enough for them to give us feedback. In each cases, I think it's been important for us to get back to them. So we've been doing that. And if there's a support inquiry you've written to us about, if there's some feedback you've written, it directly comes to my email. And those, so I wake up a little early in the morning, around 6:30 is when I have replied to every one of our support emails, and that does go in personally from my email ID. So we've always taken it very, very seriously. There's little we can do about some customers who left poor feedback and are less open to discussing that feedback, and we generally do not encourage a customer to remove their feedback unless they genuinely feel that their problem's been resolved. For a customer who's coming in and trusting a brand with their money, with their time, with their effort, and I think this is great validation for them to come up and look up to what we've been serving.
Yeah, I mean that's really heartening to know that you look after every feedback yourself. Akshi, so when we talk about coffee or when we talk about cakes, customers know what to compare it with. Even if they are having it for the first time, they would have some comparison in the head, and they would, rate it the best or the worst basis that the products that or the food and beverages you are into, they are very new to the customer. There is also a lot of education required. So how do you deal with the customer not liking it or giving you negative feedback?
So I've been very lucky till now. I've got very good feedback most of the time, unless something has, been missed out, and then we remake it, right? But like you said, the taste is new. No, it's not, because the Indian kitchen is the seat of inspiration for Ayurveda. Yeah, what we are serving at Cafe Swasthya is not alien. Yeah, but it's more real. It's the food that is missing from the market. It should be there, right? And so we've got we've got sandwiches, upama, poha, to wraps, to soups, to even pasta and kadhai paneer with chapati or lacha paratha. So we've got a very mixed kind of cuisine, very much focused on the Indian palate. And when we and we did this just recently, the extension of our menu, because we've got these bakery items, we've got these herbal teas, but it was our customers who said, we want more food. And we've got these Ayurveda journals, and they would open pages and they'd be like, ye khana hai hame Indian khana hai, because they are enjoying the food. So we take that feedback, and what we realized is that they truly value natural ingredients. They truly value the fact that we are making our own masalas. They value good food. They value the use of ghee. They value the use of homemade butters and herbal ingredients. And they also value how we are designing the recipes. So the kadhai paneer that you'll eat at our cafe would be very different from what one would eat at any other restaurant. So we have taken a lot of feedbacks, and that is why we have been able to extend our menu. With respect to herbal teas, with respect to coffee items, like you said, we don't serve cappuccinos. So that's a big no-no. We've had so many customers just go back saying, you don't serve cappuccino? And we're like, yeah, we don't serve cappuccino. And why? That's because it's not made for the Indian bodies, ideally. I mean, one cup a day, fine. If you want that cappuccino, one can go somewhere else. But we took that feedback and we made sure that we have a special range of coffees designed for them. So we've got our Dalgona style coffee, which they love. We've got our special, filter coffees infused with herbs again, so which is being taken really well. So we are taking care of things that are missing for them, and they are also enjoying all the new experiments that we are doing with them.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, Chef Gaurav, I'll come back to you. One customer that you remember whose feedback made your day, and you may even, remember his name or where you met him or her. Any anecdote here for us?
Oh my god, I wish that question was a part of the prep which was there. There are so many of them, and every single day there is an endearing kind of a letter or a note. But the most precious ones for me comes from either the most elderly people or the most younger people. So I love when someone who is a kid and they kind of write and they make an effort to let us know what is it that they really enjoyed. And since we are a brand which is now in the market for about 17-18 years, we do have some people for whom we have done their first birthday cake, and they've now grown up and we are doing their 18th birthday cake, or all those things. So that's something which is really really special. And then there are, but I'll tell you about customer feedback. So during those COVID days only, there is this lady who walked up to me, and she was very, like, she would probably be about 65-70 years old, kind of an old lady. And she came up to me, since we are essentially a French patisserie, so we don't indulge into things like say pav bread, or maybe cream roll or cream horns, or those things that probably they've had during their childhood as far as baking is concerned. So she came up to me and she said that why don't we do a fruit bun, or a bun which can be used for maska pav sort of a thing. And I was like, yeah, we don't do it, but we can do it. So next, and what I did was, because she was a regular, so we made it, and we, next time when she came, we presented it to her, and the happiness that she had on her face was very memorable. So when we gave it to her, then I realized and I questioned myself that why is it that we are not doing it? We are not doing it because we call ourselves, or we claim ourselves to be a French patisserie. But what's the harm in doing it? I know people will be judging us. I know people also judge us when we serve something like a pineapple pastry, and they're like, you're a French patisserie, but why are you serving a pineapple pastry? Let it be. So it's like we started doing that. We started packaging it. We are now doing we've still not reached the stage where we would be doing kulchas and all, let me be very clear over here, but we are doing some fantastic paws. We are doing fruit buns, and we are doing breads which are global. So from a sourdough to a pav bread, you get everything at Theo. So this is something that I can really this is special. Yeah, that's special.
That's really good to hear. See, food is a religion for us. We pray to food 3 times a day at least. Any experiences, Samyesh, where you felt a customer just made your day?
Yeah, I've had instances where a lot of customers have made our day, but I'm actually going to highlight one where a customer, we had this really funny experience with a customer. I think that's going to be more interesting for everybody to know. And hopefully, if any of us have ever done that at a cafe, I'm sorry to be calling this out today. So I was at, this is actually not the best experience I've had with a customer. It's probably the funniest one that I've had. We were at an exhibition at DCWA, and like most other times, I was behind the counter helping them put together and everything that was happening at DCWA. And a customer walks in, and while the billing was happening, I saw a lot of chaos happening right behind the billing till. So I thought that our managers weren't handling this well enough. So like any other founder, I walked up and I said, okay, let me just handle this customer. And this billing manager of ours told me, Sam, why don't you drop this? Let me take this one. I said, nahi, koi baat nahi, I'll take this customer and I'll handle her. Walked to the store, I walked to her and I tell her, ma'am, can I help you? And she said, nahi, aapke manager change nahi dete, ye nahi karte, wo nahi karte. And we have this classics menu at Beanie, which is very, very aggressively priced. So she looked at an espresso over there, which is 99 rupees, and she said, ki 99 rupees, ye wala chahiye, coffee chahiye. I said, okay, fair enough. So we gave her an espresso, which is 99 rupees, and somewhere I think we owed her 1 rupee, and figured out how to give it back to her. So this lady still comes back to me and screams at me right after. Then it's like, I said, I gave you 10 rupees instead of the 1 rupee. I think I've done my end of the bargain. She's like, this lady comes back to me with a glass and espresso. Generally, when you serve, it's either 30 ml or 60 ml espresso. You're never going to be serving more than that. This lady comes back nearly ready to throw this espresso in my face. Tells me, बेवकूफ बना रहे हो आप आधे ग्लास से भी कम कॉफी इतना कॉफी कभी देखे किसी को पीते हुए इतना सा कॉफी I said कि मैम यूजुअली एस्प्रेसो 30 to 60 ml इससे ऊपर नहीं होता कह रहा नहीं मेरे को इसमें या तो दूध चाहिए या पानी चाहिए इसके बिना मैं नहीं And as a policy, we never do that because Americano's price is 130 rupees. And I would be I said, okay, मैं पानी डाल देता हूँ. I did it just to get rid of it because there's a huge queue. This lady comes back to me with water again. She tells me, पानी डाल के देता है कोई दूध कॉफी के अंदर इसमें दूध डाल के दो. And by this time, I was obviously livid because I was like, nahin, that's not something we do. This is an espresso. Bill a cappuccino, come and bill a cappuccino. So finally, this lady gets so mad at me. She tells me, कोई बात नहीं, आप ये पूरा ग्लास भर के कॉफी दो मेरे को इसमें जो भी देते हो ये एस्प्रेसो पूरा ग्लास भर के दो. And this is 350 ml of a glass that we're serving at DCWA. And I was so frustrated by the end of it. I told them, I said, I want 350 ml of espresso in this glass and give it to her. Let her have 300. So that is the funniest experience. I'm sorry to have spoken about it. I don't know how politically correct it is, but yes, I landed up serving 350 ml of espresso to a customer at DCWA. Hopefully she still exists. Hopefully she's still alive, walking somewhere. The coffee didn't affect her, and if it woke her up, I'm glad it did.
So, Samyesh, just one question. You have been on both B2B and B2C sides. And B2B, you may be, dealing with fewer customers. Now you deal with a large bunch of them. Who do you think is kinder on a brand? A partner brand or the customers that are actually interacting and consuming the brand?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, nobody goes easy on you when they're putting their money on with you. So, and a B2B customer could be putting a very large amount of money and putting very large amount of faith in what you're building for them. So, I feel they're equally demanding. We love catering to direct Beanly customers, and I think it's where our focus lies. Not a lot of people know this, but when back in 2021, it was a very conscious call to say that we're going to put an end to the B2B business. We were significantly profitable, doing a good amount of B2B business, and obviously problems did come by in both cases, but we chose to do this for the customers who we were building for. So we love to do it for that set of customers, but they're equally demanding. Trust me, they're equally demanding, each of them.
Understood. It's good to know. Akshi, you have very recently ventured into the restaurant business. Before that, you were, selling commodity tea bags. How has the transition been for you?
There's no transition as such. It's just that thing which is optional, but it gives that educational experience about Ayurveda.
I'll definitely try that. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
a lot of us would want to do that. So, any customer that you remember that made your day?
Yeah. I had this small kid. He came to me. I was just sitting in the cafe and the family was there. And he comes to me and he just shook me and he's like, "You're the founder, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I like your food." I'm like, "Okay, thank you. That's great." He's like, "But I want pancakes." So I said, "Okay." So he then said that, "Please make pancakes for me." I said, "Okay." But I think that just interaction with the kid and a kid coming to you like that was wonderful. Yeah. So that really
I'm
made my
sure
day.
that's the
Yeah.
kick for a lot of founders when even one customer appreciates you and feels the offering, feels the food, feels the coffee. It means so much to everyone.
Yeah, especially when a kid like who's not really involved with any of the written material which is present there, all of that. So it makes you, I think, the kid, that energy is very different. So it was very
True,
special. Thank
true.
you.
So coming back to Chef Gaurav, Chef, what advice do you give to your team? When you're preparing them to face the customer. Sometimes it's like when you walk into a restaurant but your mood is bad, you just don't like anything, you want to be critical on the day. or sometimes you're very happy, but still a little thing, you could mess it up for the customer. You don't know which mindset the customer is coming in, how has their day been, and then the staff on the other end is sometimes on the receiving end of things that they didn't intentionally do, or that isn't even the fault of the restaurant. So how do you prepare your staff?
So one of the issues that I have kind of observed is that essentially people and workmen in India are somewhere, they are an introvert to a certain extent, and they are a bit shy. They want to talk, but they hesitate. So, that's one of the major issues, which is most of the time perceived as either arrogance or disinterest by the customer, and problems start from there. So what we try to do what we try to do in our training program is that we try to tell them, number one is that get over this language issue. Communication is more important than language. So if you are comfortable in Hindi, please talk in Hindi. If you're comfortable in English, please talk in English. But don't stop talking, or don't shy away from interacting with people just because you are low on confidence, or you want to say something but you feel that you can't talk. So that's one of the biggest challenge for us, to give all our teammates that comfort or that comfortable work environment where they can express their feelings. We also encourage them and tell them that there won't be any penalties, or it's not that you're going to be personally targeted for anything. All those things do not happen at Theos at all. Every problem is, we dig deep into it and go to the root cause of the problem, and problems happen due to various reasons, and it can happen even because of the high demands of the customer or different demands of the customer. If someone walks into Theos and is essentially asking for chole bhature and we can't serve that to the customer, it's also an inability in our in somewhere it is an inability with our restaurant. But what can we do? So but what we encourage them to do is to interact and talk to the customer, and always we apologize for our incapability. We apologize for our inability to be able to give them what they're asking for. So that training is very important. So suppose if you walk in and you say that at say 7 o'clock in the evening, if you come and you demand for an omelette, and that was supposed to end at say 12:30 in the afternoon, we always start with this, that ma'am or sir, we are extremely sorry, our kitchen won't be able to do it right now because we do not have so and so things or whatever. So it's basically an inability on our part. We don't be very what do you say, blunt, or probably in on the face that no, it is supposed to be only served before 12:30. So that's one thing as far as hospitality is concerned. Second and most important thing is listen always. People want to while they're listening also, they're in their head are preparing, how will I respond to it? So in that process they forget to listen. We always encourage people to go slow down. Slow down a bit. These days, everybody want to be very, very quick. Even before you ask me a question, I want to answer that. First hear the question well and then reply to it. So listen properly, comprehend everything, and give an appropriate reply. That's very important. So as soon as you are just interacting with the customer, most of the problems end over there, and then your honesty is extremely important. Genuineness is very important. If you have done a mistake, there is no problem in admitting it, genuinely replying, accepting it, and then repairing it. No point beating about the bush or explaining the customer how and in what circumstances you made the mistake. That's not important for customer. What is important is that you made a mistake and you make up for it. So these are small little points that we train our team on to when it comes to customer interaction and working with in hospitality sector at a in a way wherein your customers are customers also want that they should be heard. We come across many people who want to kind of just vent out. So it's okay. I mean,
You want to
you
be
are coming
seen.
to what your question was, that people are in a bad mood. So if you're in a bad mood, you'll go to a cafe and order a coffee and you want to vent out. It's okay. We are here. Please vent out on us. We are your punching bag or whatever it is. So take it in that spirit. And I always tell my team that at the end of the day, they don't know you. You don't know them. They're not your relatives. So don't take it to your heart. It's okay. Let it go.
Yeah, that's really good. And being a chef, I take it that you're a pro at patience, because it really takes a lot of patience to build a dish.
Yeah.
If some customer, say you built a dish with your heart, and a customer pinpoints who probably knows nothing about, let's talk about the queen moment where she asks for some garlic and other
Yeah, it
things.
happens. It happens.
Does that piss off the chef?
Uh, that's where we have to be preemptive first of all. So knowing your audience is very important. I have read this book and I strongly believe in and I was talking about this to Chef Bali just about yesterday, and I was telling him that how we as artists or creators from the creative field, it's a responsibility. We work for the audience. So if you tell me that I have to do an event in, say, Gujarat, and there's a wedding that we are doing, it is extremely important for me as a chef to respect the sentiments of people in Gujarat and work around a menu around that. I know many chefs who make faces. I know so many of them who take pride in going to London and making a customized Indian restaurant with low on spice, but do not digest the same when it's the other way around. I strongly condemn that. I believe that you need to, as a chef, it is very important. At the same time, I'm not advocating fusion cuisine. I am not adding garam masala to pasta. No, that's not what I'm advocating. That is silly. I mean, people, those who are not chefs, or people, those who are not those who have limitations as far as their creativity and their research is concerned, are the ones who subject to that. If you are well researched, every cuisine has spicy food, mild food, and every kind of food. So like Akshi said that you can do a pasta which is for the Swast menu. You can similarly do so many things which are good for you, so many things which are to your liking, and so many things which are to your religious preference or bending. So I think I respect that, and I align myself to every customer. But yes, at times when I want to express something as a chef, I strongly believe that this dish is something which is an expression of my creativity. I try to put it. Yes, there are many a times when audience do not accept it the way I expected them. Then I tweak it and I kind of give it the other way around. It's like when you give your child something and you've got vegetables showing on top and they'll reject it because they don't want to eat vegetable, you kind of mince it and puree it and still put it. So we as chefs also sometimes do those tricks which are there. We kind of serve you the same thing in a different way so that it's more acceptable. But at the end of the day, it's a combination. But
That's so true
yeah.
for everyone in the service industry. You
Yes.
have to treat your customer as a child, and
Yes.
also sometimes, make a way for
pamper
their
them.
wishes. Yeah. Samyesh, what are your recommendations to the team when they are dealing with the not so favorable customer feedback?
Yeah, I think being calm, composed, and we have a policy of raise, escalate, and then finally there has to be something that we have a policy of raise, escalate, and then finally dousing or dissolving of that situation. We follow it very religiously, and I think, like Chef mentioned, the first part of it is to listen very carefully. If it hasn't been doused, we raise, we escalate, and then the final stage is to douse it. And it goes through various stages of escalation before we can douse it in some points. But luckily, we haven't come across someone who's been absolutely unresponsive to any sort of resolution. But yes, of course, I think customers come into with high expectations. Like I said, and every time you spend your money, if I were doing the same, you come in with very, very high expectations.
Okay. Akshi, what about you?
Like guiding the team on how to be
Yes.
with
What
the
are your two
customer.
cents to the team when they are being coached under you on dealing with a customer that's not so favorable?
Yeah, I think Chef has already covered all points. I think they have to be very patient and they have to be calm. They have to be a good listener because it's absolutely right. When a person is coming to a cafe or a restaurant, they just really want their time, they want their space. And if anything kind of agitates them for whatever reason, we have to kind of let go of it. But it's I think it's important to just make them also feel cared for, like, so we make sure that so would you like to change your order, things like that, or sir, why don't you try this, maybe this can be a good mood uplifter for you, like different foods or a different choice, or change of music, something like that. But mostly just being calm, composed, and really listening. And I think it just passes by then. Yeah.
Thank you.
One last thing to say. Sometimes you just don't try to correct them. When they ask you for 350 ml of espresso, you give them 350 ml of espresso, and maybe the coffee wakes them up.
You save 10 minutes.
Yes.
So, okay, now we are at the last stretch and we're just concluding this discussion. So, we all have heard Steve Jobs and Ford say that if I asked my customers what do they want, they would have asked for a better horse. And Steve Jobs says, I tell the customer what they want and they want it. Do you think that stands true for the food business as well?
I didn't know about this, but that's exactly what I've been doing. I always, I was asked this question the other day also. I think the ball is in our court, because when you give the ball in the other court, there are too many of them playing. So the problem is that, and their choices do not align with themselves. So the
True.
problem is that to what extent can you be, getting distracted or deviated from your own goal? So it is extremely important for you to do self introspection, do an analysis of what your strengths are. I believe a lot in the SWOT analysis, and we do the SWOT for us. We do the SWOT for every new location. We do pay a lot of respect to customer choices and demands. But if the customer choices are averse of what our strengths are, then we obviously have to let go of that option. So we try to. I always say this, that at Theos, people don't tell us what we should be doing. We tell them that what they should be having, and there's a way to do it. So through display positioning and through making the layout and the flow, we kind of direct people in a very unsaid or in a way which is very organic, and people don't realize that they are behaving the way we want them to behave and not the way they want to behave. But they kind of submit to it and enjoy it, and at the end of the day, the end result is that they should go happy, and we should be happy that they are happy. That's the end goal which is there.
That's really interesting. Samyesh, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's fairly simple. Like you said, customer satisfaction is the end goal, and we achieve it one way or the other. It's one way or the other, you do achieve customer satisfaction. That's our end goal.
Right. Akshi, you have created something new and something fresh for the industry. Do you feel that somewhere you're shaped by the customer feedback, or you shape the customer feedback?
Both is important. It's very important to stand by your principles, because otherwise there's no point of doing a new business or introducing something new, because customer is not waiting for you. They're not ready. They don't understand so many things. So it's like halfway you go, and you allow the customer to kind of come halfway, and then somewhere in the middle you find that space. So sometimes it's important that you express yourself and you assert yourself, and sometimes it's important that you really listen to the customer and incorporate that feedback. So that makes, I think, a great place for the brand to grow. in a
Thank
healthy
you,
way.
Akshi, for the summary. It's been a great panel, and it's been awesome interacting with all of you. We didn't get much of a prep time, and I'm sorry there was a lot of impromptu inclusions in between. And you guys have been such a sport, and you played it really, really well. It's been a joy. Thank you.